fifth grade. Welcome back. Good morning on Monday. Welcome to Bible class. This week we are going to be looking at Daniel and his friends. So let's dive in. All right, so we're looking at Daniel chapter 1. Now remember that Jeremiah had prophesied that Judah would be taken captive because of their refusal to maintain a relationship with God. They kept turning away to the idols. So Daniel is written from the perspective of being captive in Babylon. Daniel and his friends Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were all taken captive to Babylon. Now, Daniel and his three friends were among the captives taken by King Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar. Now, because I need to make that specification because there's two different kings named similarly. In essence, they were removed from their families and taken to the king to be groomed as leaders to help manage the captured Hebrew people. Now, the king did not want just any Hebrew men seized, but only those with certain characteristics. So they were young men without defect, who were handsome, wise, knowledgeable, teachable, and qualified. Daniel and his friends were among the brightest of Judah's young men. How do you think Daniel and his friends felt when they realized they were being taken captive to a strange land, away from their families, away from all their customs and beliefs? Were going to be around different customs and foreign religions. They probably were very afraid. So in Daniel chapter 1, we find Daniel and his friends facing the first obstacle, if you might say, in maintaining their faith with God. And this is they're basically told when they get to Babylon that they are going to be eating the king's food, and at the end of this time, they'll go before the king to be presented before him as the servants and the advisors to him. But they know this food has been sacrificed to idols. If you look on your workbook page, on page 117, you'll see, the food that is put before them was meat, usually unclean animals such as pigs, and different things like that. And it had also been sacrificed to false gods before it was served. But you can see how rich and sumptuous and good and inviting it looked. They were delicacies, in fact. But Daniel and his friends had to have courage to resist that food, because God had told them not to eat food that was A, unclean, such as pigs, or B, food that was sacrificed to an idol. Any idol. Didn't matter. So this is what they're facing. They need to stand up to the king. But standing up to the king could mean death. So Daniel makes the decision that they will not eat the food. So they ask permission if they cannot defile themselves. This showed great devotion and resolve and courage to follow God's command. Remember that resolve means the determination to maintain a firm decision. Daniel made a decision. A lot of people don't even know how to make the decisions that need to be made. Daniel knew how to make those decisions in a godly manner. Daniel and his friends held true to their beliefs and to God's ways. And because of their strong relationship with God, the four young Hebrews exhibited courageous leadership and faithful resolve to remain obedient to God, when submitting to their captors. God poured out his blessings on them, granting them wisdom and favor with the king. So if you look at the Babylonian food, and then you look at the Israelite food, Daniel asked if they could eat healthy foods. In fact, he actually asks if they can eat vegetables and fruits and legumes, which are beans, lentils, and things like that. And if they can drink watered down wine instead of strong wine, full strength wine. And this, at first they're like, wait, what? You want to do what? But the food, you're going to be weaker than everybody else. And Daniel actually asked them to put it to the test. Give us 30 days. If in 30 days we're weaker, then we'll go to eating the king's food. If not, we will continue to be able to eat this way. Vegetables, fruits, legumes, watered down wine. And God gives Daniel and the other three favor with the official and with the king. See, some things are eternal, and some are temporal or earthly, worldly. See, some things are short-lived. The king's favor, short-lived. God's favor and blessing, eternal. We can learn from Daniel and his friends that we are supposed to focus on the eternal, make those eternal decisions and the things that matter for eternity versus the earthly, worldly, temporal things. I want to point out, Daniel and his friends' names were actually changed when they got to Babylon. Daniel actually became Belteshazzar. Now see, Daniel means God is my judge, but Belteshazzar means Bel's prince. Hananiah means Jehovah has given, and his name Hananiah became Shadrach, meaning command of Aku. Mishael, which means who is what God is, was changed to Meshach, which means guest of a king. Azariah, which means whom Jehovah helps, became Abednego, which means servant of Nego. See, the fact that the chief official changed their names from God-honoring names to names that reflected false gods was to show Daniel and his friends that the Babylonians expected them to embrace their false gods. But while keeping respectful attitudes towards their captors, they determined that they would remain faithful to the one true God. So complete page 117, and we'll see you tomorrow.